So people are like, today there was like a huge discussion about aim assist because the top 14 players on NA East in today's tournament, in today's round, the top 14 players were on controller. And I think this is like the first time we've seen like a true dominance of the leaderboard by controller players. Like we've seen certain splits before. We've seen all kinds of different stuff, but I think today was what? Today was like a big day for controller players, at least on NA East, and I think Middle East as well was like 8 of the top 10 were controller, but Middle East is always controller dominated. It could just be a region thing. So there's a lot of talk about controller this, controller that. EU on the other hand was a little different today. EU had 3 controller players in the top. I don't know why I didn't grab the I think EU only had 3 controller players in the top 15. So, yeah, a lot of people today were really angry about aim assist, and I think like hashtag nerf aim assist was trending just for a little bit. It's dude, it's I keep saying this, man. It's never gonna be balanced. I'm not talking about aim assist. I'm just talking about this discussion, this war between aim assist, controller, PC. It's never going to be balanced. You know, 2 years ago there was like 0 controller players competing like at a high level, right? And then eventually we had like a couple of them. You know, we had Ghost Aiden, we had Issa, and a couple of those guys, like, you know, 1, 2, 3 control players here and there doing okay, you know. And then what was it, like 4 to 6 control players in the World Cup, right? So like back then it clearly wasn't fair because control players had a huge disadvantage. They weren't qualifying for no tournaments. They weren't, like, none of them were really making any money besides a couple. Fast forward to now, you know, with all the improvements to controller, you know, settings, addition of linear, a lot of controller players transitioning from console to PC. At least on NA East, we have more control players than mouse and keyboard in this week's or this FNCS solo. Okay, and I know it's like one tournament. It doesn't really give a proper indication of the skill level and everything. But at the end of the day, bro, you can't balance a controller like versus a mouse and keyboard. Either controller is going to suck and not be able to do well, or it's going to do well enough to where, you know, you have this huge debate with aim assist and whatever. I think, bro, honestly, something they should consider, and I think this would be best for everybody involved, controller, PC, mouse and keyboard, just have, this looks different. This shouldn't be green like this. I don't know what's going on here. Just have tournaments for controller players and tournaments for mouse and keyboard players. I think that's the simplest thing, but I think that I think they should at least try it. They should try it, man. Like, they already have, I know it's like splitting the community a lot, but they should at least try it. I feel like I could be completely wrong on this whole situation, but I don't think it'd be a bad idea to have just like do a cash cup where it's only controller and a cash cup where it's only mouse and keyboard. That way you don't have anybody crying about anything, man. It's just how would they be able to do it? What do you mean? You think Epic isn't capable of having a tournament that's mouse keyboard and then a tournament that's controller? It's super simple. The game knows what input you're using. The game knows what input you're using. They should just try it. It could be a bad idea. There might not be enough players to split up the tournaments like that. Right? If that's the case, then that's the case. But I think it'd be an interesting idea. I also think, hear me out. You know, there's a lot of mouse and keyboard pros who quit Fortnite, right? A lot of them. And I don't want to say that they quit because of aim assist. Some of them did. But I don't want to say that because I don't speak for them. But I do think there'd be a lot of people, a lot of mouse and keyboard pro players and streamers who left, who used to be competitive, who left, who might come back if Epic was considering doing mouse and keyboard tournaments and controller tournaments. I don't know. I could be completely wrong. There might not be enough players to split up because they're already splitting console and PC for the most part. I know this FNCS wasn't split, but most FNCS, there's a console and there's PC and there's mobile, right? Or they put mobile and console together. I forgot what the split is like, but they have split tournaments. So if they split that and then they also split the input, that might be too much of a split and that might not work. It's not about money because Epic's got plenty of money to dump into competitive. People think that people are so weird about this. People are like, dude, why does mobile get a $50,000 tournament? That's so stupid. They suck. Guys, 50 grand? Like, does Epic have to drop the, you know, Jay-Z line? Like do they need to remind us what 50 grand is to them? Hey, we're talking about Epic Games, guys. All right? They're not taking away 50K from PC and putting it to mobile. Okay, they're not doing that. They're just allocating 50K to mobile. Like, this is, hey, here's another 50K for mobile. You know, it's not like, oh, because mobile's getting a prize pool or because console's getting a prize pool, they're not giving it to PC players. That's not happening. So I kind of went off on a tangent there, but I just wanted to mention, like, dude, just because Epic gives like, you know, prize money to like a console or mobile, they're not taking that money away from anyone else. That's not how it works. They've got money to put into it. Okay. But going back to the main point of it, if they were to do split tournaments, I don't think it'd be a money issue. It'd be a player issue. Like, would there be enough players for the queue times not to be atrocious? Like, we've already seen, like, I know this FNCS is a little bit different because people were already qualified for this FNCS due to previous performances, and then some people, like 100 people, like including me, like got invited. So this FNCS, and then 100 people had to qualify. But this FNCS is kind of like a very limited amount of people playing in it. It's not as open and like big as the other, you know, FNCS that are like weekly qualifiers, whatever, weekly games, right? But we were already seeing like long queue times on some players, like 50-minute queue times. They don't get into a match, whatever. That could be even a bigger problem if they split mobile and, I mean, if they split controller inputs.